So what is a resale packet, when you're purchasing a home or a condo with an association? That's what I'm gonna go over in this video. So if that interests you, you wanna stick around, I'm gonna go over the key components of a resale packet, like the resale certificate, the financials, and the reserve study, and really what you should be looking for when you're purchasing a property. So what's going on, everybody? This is Rich, your local coastal Maryland and Delaware realtor. I get people that reach out all the time and I love it. Never too busy to answer any questions and offer up some help, but my contact information is going to be down below in the description. Whether if you're looking right now or even if it's a year from now, never too early to start a conversation. But without further ado, let's hop into the video. So real quick explanation of what a resale packet is. Usually when you go to purchase, you already have a contract, you negotiated a price on the property that you want to buy, and then there's some steps to go through. And one of the contingencies that you get as a buyer is you get a week to look over all the bylaws, the rules, the regulations of the association. Let's say condo, which I'm going to show you a real example here. You also get a chance to look at their financials, the reserves. Are there any special assessments coming up? Any money that's going to be due by you, the buyer, above and beyond the condo fee that's there. All good information to know. What kind of condition that it's in, and what major work's coming up in the future too. So those are all things and key components that you want to look at. Of course, if you're financing, they'll want to see a lot of that information in there, like the insurance policies, of course, financials, and the rules and regs. But so all important, and usually what happens is once you get on their contract, the seller pays for it. So it usually costs $250 to $350. They order it from their association or the property manager that runs the whole building. And you usually will get that within a week or so, once it's under contract, for you and your agent to review and just to make sure that you're okay with everything. All right, so here we go. We just hopped in on my computer here, and I'm gonna go over first the resale certificate. This is the first thing that I tend to look at. And so a resale certificate is going to be 1 to 4 pages, and the association property manager actually produces this thing. I look at to make sure that matches up, just like this one here shows $17.80 per quarter, and that does match up on what we originally looked at. Sometimes if there is an increase in that, this would definitely show it. This also says, double checks. It shows, if this seller is in arrears of any condo fee or assessments. And of course, this one says 0, which is good. It would also state on here if there are any special assessments coming up from any major work above and beyond the condo fee. And that's a good thing to take a look at. Of course, this is something you want to find out usually before you put in your offer. Of course, it will mention things that are attached to the resale packet, like the financials, balance sheet, which this will refer to all that, the insurance policies. But that's it for the resale certificate. So this one's clean. So we pull up the rest of it here. This will have all financials and the reserve study, which is an important part that I'm going to go over mainly, something to look at. But this shows here quick. I'm going to zoom this in. Their budget for this year. We'll look at some actual numbers too, but these are nice because it kind of really shows you how many units are in the building. And this breaks it down to what types of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. It gives you the total income that the association pulls in from the condo fees. Then it goes over all their general expenses, insurance, pool operations, elevator, utilities, building and grounds. And you can kind of see what they plan to put into reserves, which actually it's really good on this one. They're pulling in just about $360,000, and they plan on putting in $155,000, $156,000. So it's about 40% which is good. You know, most usually when lenders would look at these, a lot of them would want to see at least 10% being put into the reserves. Then they got a income statement, financial statement here, which is kind of nice. They compare all the previous years, so you can kind of look at that. You see what they've been put in the reserves, what major work they've had. You can see, you know, some years, usually what you'll see on this, if, you know, a big project is being done, let's say like the roof or whatever it may be, you know, sometimes a little less would be put in the reserves. And sometimes, you know, they could have like a negative income, but usually that's because they're still putting a certain amount into the reserves if they're planning on doing some major work. Typical kind of balance sheets. This one says they have about $500,000 in cash, $610,000 total in assets. So the main thing I like to look at too, well, you know, particularly with the financial statements, you know, it's always a good idea, and you have an option as a buyer too, is to you can call and talk with the treasurer of the association or the property manager, because they really know these numbers ins and outs, and they could really answer a lot of questions you know, that you may have. It's good to talk to somebody like that, just because they're in the day-to-day with it. They know the numbers and kind of can come up with a, you know, an answer pretty quick. Especially if it, you know, if you want to know, hey, I see that you have $500,000 in cash and this amount in the reserves. Is that what you guys wanted, or are you, you know, a little bit behind, or are you ahead of schedule? You know, based on maybe what's coming up work-wise. But the reserve study is always good, has a plan, and you can kind of see, make sure that the funding's there, and the likelihood of not having some big major assessments coming up. They have their insurance policies in here. These are all good to know to have that. A lot of times when you're getting a loan, you know, lender would like to see that. Meeting minutes are good way to take a peek and kind of get caught up of what's being talked about, what issues are going on in the building, maybe what work is coming up to. You know, your reserve study is really like a home inspection on the whole building and also on the financials. And they'll have a plan in there, a budget plan, that say, hey, you know, they take inventory of everything, like your roof, exterior concrete, railings, like waterproofing paint, the parking lot, you know, all these things, you know, that have lifespans on them. And they'll say, hey, your roof is, you know, X amount of years old. It has, I believe this one states that it has 6 years left on it. I remember seeing that in there. So they'll come up with a plan, you know, 20 years out, and just showing with these different fixes that the building association needs to do, and how that affects the reserves, and the help plan to have that money there. Budget-wise, money-wise, it's a little easier on owners because, you know, everything's planned. Or try to plan, you know, things can change, but they do account for inflation and so on, which is good. This states what they look over: exterior of the building, the roof, siding, railings, deck, the bulkheads. It is waterfront, asphalt parking, site parking, dumpster area, site fencing, windows and doors, elevator. They have a pool. But they're talking a little bit about the roof in here, and I did glance over this already. But at this state, like what kind of roof that it has. This particular one has a stone roof with concrete pavers along the edge. But you can see they take pictures throughout the whole building. Find anything that, you know, they see some cracks and all this normal stuff. Stairwells, they're always needing upkeep. But you kind of get the gist. You can kind of look through all that. This is what we'll take a look at here. So they basically take inventory, everything, just like what we talked about. Kind of zoom in too far on here, but yep. So here, number one is the roof replacement. So this is usually a big project on any building or any house, really. But it's saying about 20 years estimate useful life on most roofs. I guess the type of material they have. It says it has 6 years left on this one. An estimate here of $487,000 to replace that roof, and it's saying you need about $24,000 in annual funding to prepare for this, based on what they have on reserves right now. So in 6 years they're going to have to replace that. But you can see it goes through everything here: the stairs, drain pipes, which this is kind of nice to look at. They go ahead and give a plan, a budget plan, and they kind of space everything out. I believe they go at least 20 years, which we'll take a look at this. But you see the roof. Well, everything's listed here. Then here's 2023. Number 2 is 2024. Number 3 is 2025. So it looks like in 2025, 3 years, it's that metal pan stairs that's going to need to be fixed. And so they're putting that in the budget, or projected for that year to have that fix done. And along with everything that they took inventory for, you can kind of see. But let's go to year 6 with that roof. There's that roof there. And they're estimating $581,000 in 6 years. And the original estimate of today's cost was $487,000, so they're considering inflation on that. Now, like looking at the bottom here, let me go back to that first one here. 2023, it says the starting balance of the reserves they had was $300,000. Of course, the annual deposit is the condo fees, how much they're depositing into the reserves after their yearly expenses there, the $155,000. So their expenses for that year, $51,000 plus some interest. They're left with $404,000 in the reserves. It shows that $404 starting balance. Their annual reserve deposit there, $155,000. But they have quite a bit more work here in 2024, which was this year, and some interest there. But now we have a balance of $424 in the reserves. So reserves are looking good in this kind of plan projection. But look, year 6 with this big roof replacement, it says that they're going to start with $451,000 in reserves. They're going to deposit $171,000 into the reserves from the condo fees that year. And their expenses are almost $600,000, mainly because of that roof. And their ending balance is $25,000, so it's getting kind of low, which is common to see, when you have big projects. But you can see the following year, they'll build that balance back up to $98,000. Then the third year there, $266,000, then $300,000, and so on. Once they, associations get past, a lot of major fixes like the roof, maybe waterproofing the concrete, fixes with the concrete, the pavement, the parking lot. A lot of times they can really build up that reserve, which you can kind of see that on this one. Look, they're up to $657,000, $842,000, $942,000. Of course, we're like 21 years later, 2043, 2044. They're having an ending balance of $1.1 million, $1.2 million. So that reserve is building back up. So, and this is a nice little cash flow chart that they have. Basically, what we were looking at. It's kind of nice to see that you see the reds, their expenses, the blues, the annual deposit. Which you can see the annual deposit doesn't change too much. Goes up, over time because of inflation. But expenses, you can see they have some major work here in 2028, 2032. You can see that green, that cash flows is building up in that reserves. So this looks like a strong association to me. And again, this is something where you could talk with the property manager or maybe the treasurer in the association, just any questions that you would have. But it shows that they're well funded from what I can see. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but if I was looking to buy this is what I'm looking at. But covered a lot of information in that video, and hopefully that has made some things made a little bit more sense and clarified those things. So, and when you get to that point, if you're purchasing a property, You kind of know what to look for or even what questions to ask, and to know that you can reach out to the property manager of that property or maybe the treasurer. That's okay. Leave a comment below if you had a specific question or if you dealt with a situation that we talked about here. Love to hear a little bit more about it. But if the video has helped you out, show the love. Click that like button. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the content that I come out with every week. And until next time, I'll see you soon.